Sometimes this city is too much to bear. I hear a calling in my soul. The mother's waterways will take me where life has begun, under a Beltane sun. As the children play, skylark sings to the swift on the wing in the bright clear day. Sometimes this city is too much to bear. I hear a calling in my soul. The mother's waterways will take me where life has begun, under a Beltane sun. Salmon swims and the diamond stream sings with the blackbird's song. Voice in the breeze, well it whispers, please won't you sing along. Sometimes this city is too much to bear. I hear a calling in my soul. The mother's waterways will take me where life has begun, under a Beltane sun. Under a Beltane sun. Under a Beltane sun. Under a Beltane sun. Under a Beltane sun.
Welcome to tonight's sermon. I'm Druidic Raven Bloodstone, and I'm here for the next hour to regale your senses, to bring us all back to the right spiritual path. Tonight's sermon will be about Druidism and spiritualism, and we'll also be bringing in mythology for the lore of the ancestors, and we'll also be talking about politics, since the politicians are important to us all. What our political leaders get up to leads us down the garden path or the path to utopia, depending on those politicians. So it's up to us to keep an eye on them, and that's what us Druids do. We will keep an eye on those political leaders of ours, and we will wake the people up to the actions of those politicians. If they're good, we will tell you, and if they're bad, we will tell you. And we will tell you the outcome of those policies that they are enacting, enforcing. And we'll be talking about spiritualism and Druidism, and we'll also have guest speakers on for you. And the first guest speaker is on right now. This is from the Order of Bards, Ovates and Druids, and this is Philip Cargom.
Dear student, welcome to the Order of Bards, Ovates and Druids. I hope your association with the Order will be long and happy. As you work with the course, please remember that you are not obliged to blindly accept any of the ideas or methods presented to you. If you feel that certain aspects of the teachings do not speak to you, leave them aside. Maybe at a later date they will acquire meaning or relevance in your life. Each of us is so unique, and the circumstances of our outer lives and of our inner psychic development are so varied, it is impossible to provide a graded system of instruction that will suit everyone at all times. So please bear this in mind as you work through the material, at the same time knowing that this knowledge has been gradually developed over many generations with the sole aim of helping the individual develop his or her potential and of encouraging a way of life that is in harmony with nature. There is no master or guru at the head of the order, and so none of us are obliged to divert our attention away from our aims towards the adoration of another human being. One of the advantages of an order, as against a movement centered around a teacher, is that this prevents the development of a personality cult. As chosen chief, I have been asked to lead the order, and as such I merely fulfill a function. I serve the order in that sense as an office holder. I first met the last chosen chief of the order over 30 years ago, and it was he who introduced me to the spring of wisdom and practice that is Druidry. Today, that spring is of tremendous importance to us, since it provides a way of re-establishing those connections that we have lost, between ourselves and the world of nature, between ourselves and the source, God, Goddess or Spirit, and between our everyday selves and the deep self or soul within each one of us. Given that we have lost our connection with the earth, with the environment, to such a degree that we are destroying it, it is clear that all attempts to re-establish that connection at a deeply conscious level are important and meaningful. In Druidry, we do this by developing our sense of connection to the earth, the sky, the moon, the stars, the four elements, the seasons, animals, stones and plants, and trees in particular. Being connected also means actively interrelating, communing. And so Druidry teaches a way of communion with nature and with the divine spiritual source that manifests through the natural world. You will find that many methods and techniques are given in the course, and in particular 8 special ceremonies that link us with the natural world and the divine source. These 8 ceremonies or rituals help us to commune with our inner selves and with the earth, the elements and the spirit in a way that is at once both simple and natural, but also profound. Within this 8-fold cycle lies a great deal of the Druid wisdom and teachings. In this way, Druidry is a path of action, and an appreciation of it grows with its practice. Each of these guesu is designed to stimulate and initiate new thoughts, actions, feelings and practices. It is not necessary for them to be long or to involve laborious study. In their very brevity and conciseness lies their power, if put to work. The Druid tradition holds the seed and root wisdom of our forebears, and by contacting and working with this wisdom, we are able to find again that special relationship which exists between ourselves and the earth. Druidry is a living system that has constantly evolved and changed over time, and it is probable that at this stage in our planet's history, Druidry and the other nature-based paths are of more relevance than ever before. Today, our biggest problem is that we have separated ourselves from nature, so much that there is a risk we may not survive as a species. We need philosophies, spiritualities, ideas that can help us get back in touch with nature again. Our spirituality must become ecological. Druidry is one such spirituality, and at first sight it might appear to be just an old curiosity, a quaint memory from the distant past. But if we take the time to look at it more closely, we will discover a treasure chest just waiting to be opened. And in this chest we can find at least 7 gifts that Druidry brings to our modern world. The first gift is a philosophy, a way of looking at the world which emphasizes the sacredness of all life and our part in the great web of creation. It cares passionately about the preservation and protection of the environment and offers a worldview which is ecological, geocentric, pragmatic, idealistic, spiritual, and romantic. It does not separate spirit and matter. It offers a sensuous spirituality that celebrates physical life. The second gift puts us back in touch with nature. It is a set of practices that help us feel at one again with nature, our ancestors, our own bodies, and our sense of spirit, by working in specific ways with plants, trees, animals, stones, and ancestral stories. In addition, 8 seasonal celebrations help us attune to the natural cycle and help us structure our lives through the year and to develop a sense of community with all living beings. The third gift brings healing. It is a set of practices that promote healing and rejuvenation using spiritual and physical methods in a holistic way to promote health and longevity. The fourth gift affirms our life as a journey. It is a set of rites of passage for the blessing and naming of children, for marriage, for death, and for other times of initiation when it is helpful to ritually and symbolically mark our passage from one state to another. The fifth gift opens us to other realities. It is a range of techniques for exploring other states of consciousness, other realities, the other world. Some of these techniques are also used by other spiritual traditions and include meditation, visualization, shamanic journeying, and the use of ceremony, music, chanting, and sweat houses. But they are all grounded in specifically Celtic and Druidic imagery and tradition. The sixth gift develops our potential. It is a path of self-development that encourages our creative potential, our psychic and intuitive abilities, and fosters our intellectual and spiritual growth. The seventh gift of Druidry is the gift of magic. It teaches the art of bringing ideas into manifestation, the art of discovering and then nurturing and learning how to use the power of Imas, of Arwen, of spiritual inspiration. If you choose to take the Order's training program, you will discover that you have begun a journey that explores these 7 gifts and shows you how they can be of benefit to you in your own life today. Druidry is intensely practical. It may offer a philosophy and an understanding of life that is deeply spiritual, but it is not a spirituality that wants to help us escape from life. Instead, its purpose is to help us live more fully in this life, now. And although it is regarded as a religion by some, the ideas and methods of Druidry can be used by people of any religious persuasion or none. So you don't need to convert, you don't need to become a Druid to benefit from the course or from all that Druidry offers the modern world. Druidism isn't a cult. A cult revolves around a personality, a charismatic leader, or a particular deity or saint. Druidry has none of these characteristics. Druidry is a spirituality, a path, a tradition. Spiritual traditions do not exist in isolation. Like trees in a forest, each one is distinct and unique, but their roots and branches often intertwine, and they share the same soil, water, and air, the same sun and moonlight. Druidry was influenced by the great classical traditions of Greece and Rome, by the Norse and Saxon traditions, by the religions of the Near East and ancient Egypt. It shared their preoccupations and goals, and in its turn influenced those cultures and traditions. So when we study Druidry, we can see glimpses of pyramids in the distance, of Persian gods, of goddesses who walked the hills of Syria, of Greece and Macedonia. And then, when we turn to Christianity and the other great religions of the world, we can see traces of all these cultures, and of the Druids too, standing as custodians of an ancient wisdom on the threshold of our modern world. As we enter the 21st century, it seems that the guardians of all the ancient traditions are starting to speak to us again, are starting to call to us to remember the wisdom of our ancestors so that we can use their knowledge and their understanding to help us fulfill our true potential. In the following Gwesu, we shall start to introduce the basic principles of Druid teaching. And it is important for you to know that there are many different ways in which you can work with the material that you will hear. Some members make Druidry their sole path and work with the material intensively, while others use the material, its ideas and exercises, as supplements to a way of life they have already evolved, which may include work with a number of different traditions. You may choose to devote a good deal of time to the Druid way, or you may choose to dip into the material in a more intuitive and less regular manner. Either way, we hope that you will find the course stimulating and enriching. And like most things in life, what you will get out of it will depend to a great extent on what you put into it. If you choose to proceed, the resources of the Order are now available to you. In the course, the members' forums, the camps, workshops, archives, it's up to you to use them and contribute to them as much as you wish. In the meanwhile, the Order and its teachings lie in your future as a source of inspiration and sustenance. With all the very best wishes, Philip Cargon.
There's a tree by the well in the wood that's covered in garland. Cluties and ribbons that drift in the cool morning air. That's where I met an old woman who came from a far land, holding a flame o'er the well and chanting a prayer. Goddess of fire, goddess of healing, goddess of spring, welcome again. She told me she'd been in prison, trapped in a mountain. Taken by the Queen of Winter from summer's end. But in her prison she heard the spell the people were chanting. 3 days of summer and snowdrops are flowering again. Goddess of fire, goddess of healing, goddess of spring, welcome again. Gatia, the goddess of many names, goddess of fire, goddess of healing, goddess of spring. Welcome again. Then I saw her reflection in the mirrored well, and I looked deep in her face. The old woman gone, a maiden now knelt in her place. And from my pocket I pulled the ribbon, and in honor of her maidenhood I tied it there to the tree by the well in the wood. Goddess of fire, goddess of healing, goddess of spring. Welcome again. Welcome again. Welcome again. Welcome again.
The role of the bard in the Druid mysteries. No traitor the salmon, he returns to his home. When you're tired of searching there, you'll find the answer here. 4th century Welsh. The old stories tell us that if we follow the Boyne River in Ayr back to its source, we will come to a sacred pool surrounded by 9 hazel trees. These trees are as old as time, with gnarled curling trunks, the colour of russet brown and purple. Fat hazelnuts ripen beneath the bright green leaves and drop every now and then into the still dark water. If we sit quietly by this pool and gaze into its depths, we might just be lucky enough to glimpse one of its 5 ancient inhabitants. Sleek, silent salmon, swimming in its waters, jumping every now and then to catch a hazelnut as it falls. This pool is called Conla's Well, or the Well of Segish, and sometimes it is said that there is a fountain or a spring that feeds it. The 9 purple hazels of Boyne feed the salmon and make the wisest creatures on earth. The goal of Celtic and Druid spirituality is to catch one of these salmon. Some stories say to eat it, others say to ride on its back, to find the Mabon, the Celtic child god of light who brings eternal life. To reach this goal, which is really the attainment of love, wisdom and creative fulfilment, to reach the salmon and the child, we need to go back. Just as the salmon returns to its birthing grounds to spawn, and just as psychotherapy urges us to go back to our childhoods to find renewal, we need to follow the river to its source. And over the work of the Bardic Grade, we will do just this, going back in time to the wisdom of the ancestors, and back in time to consider our own lives, so that together the story of our lives and the story of our ancestors can lead us to a moment of rebirth, of renewal, at the source of our personal history and at the source of our spiritual heritage. For most people of European ancestry, the source of that heritage has been forgotten. They believe their culture is rooted in Christianity, almost unaware of the tens of thousands of years of pre-Christian heritage and spirituality, which underpin the last 2 millennia of Christian experience. Our pre-Christian past has been so well buried that most people believe we know hardly anything about the culture or spirituality of our remote ancestors. But that is misguided, for although certain knowledge will always be difficult or impossible, there is plenty of evidence, often sensationally inspiring and beautiful, which can be legitimately interpreted in different ways. One such set of interpretations, based on that evidence, is offered here. We now have evidence from as far back as 25,000 years ago that suggests a spirituality rooted in a reverence for the earth and her creatures. At Lascaux in central France and at other locations in France and Spain, deep caverns have been discovered with magnificent paintings of bison and boar, bull and bear that have been dated to this time, when northern Europe was still covered in thick sheets of ice. The men and women of those days would have crawled into these deep caves, into the belly of the earth goddess, to gaze and wonder at the painted figures of her animals on the cave walls, before emerging again into the light of a new day, reborn from her warm, dark womb. 20,000 years later, this same primeval urge to be close to Mother Earth, to be born again from her womb, was still present in the human soul, as we can tell from the once great stone monuments of the Boyne Valley in Ireland. And thousands of years later, in the mid-16th century, we can discover the same basic urge to return to the goddess womb in the story we will soon explore, which lies at the heart of the Druid tradition and of bardic training. We can see now that Christianity is relatively recent, and before it became the predominant religion in Western Europe, most people practiced a spirituality that was not expressed in sacred text, but which arose out of the simple experience of being sensitive to the land and sky, to the changing seasons, to the power of the hills and rivers, to the mystery of the stars and the movement of the sun and moon. These early religions were sensuously spiritual, spiritually sensuous. Instinct and intuition combined in a sense of awe and wonder at the raw power of life and death, at the sheer beauty of a world filled with extraordinary creatures and magnificent landscapes. Each type of animal or tree, each landscape feature, was sensed as a being in its own right, with qualities and powers which needed respecting, recognising, worshipping sometimes, propitiating at other times. Each region, each tribe developed a spirituality which grew out of the people's relationship with the land. Local sites, such as a mountain or river, hill or spring, became centres for worship, with goddesses and gods being venerated as spiritual guardians of these special places. In this way, local practices developed, which slowly began to interact with neighbouring ones. Some deities became popular and were adopted more universally. Some religious customs died out, while others flourished and spread. Many of the features of these European pre-Christian practices are found in indigenous traditions all the world over. It is nature who gives the inspiration, who suggests the lineaments of the observations, and so we find common themes. The reverence for all living things, the importance of the cardinal directions, the centrality of fire and water in ceremonies, the use of sweat houses for purification and healing, the sacred use of music and chanting, the belief in animal spirits as guides in the other world. Some writers, seeing the similarities between indigenous traditions, developed theories of migration and communication. The Atlanteans went to Egypt. The Egyptians brought their teachings to Britain. The Native Americans and Druids met across the ocean, and so on. How else, they ask, can we explain so many similarities of belief and practice? Some of the theories may be true, and there certainly was much communication and travel even in the distant past. But it seems more likely that the more formative influence on all these different traditions was not so much contact with other cultures, but contact with the eternal principles that are communicated by nature herself. Throughout the centuries and throughout the world, people have gathered in awe around a fire, beside a spring, before an eclipse, or beneath the constellations, and have been inspired to create rituals and sacred stories that have reflected their experience of these natural phenomena. Within this overall picture of local spiritual practices sharing many similarities, but each having their own sacred sites and guardian deities, we can imagine certain people, the brightest of their tribe, travelling from one community to another, seeking wisdom wherever they can find it. As they search for the truth beyond forms, they start to see similarities, to weave connections between tribes and between belief systems, so that as they move, so too do ideas. A deity originally confined to one region starts to be worshipped further afield. As trade, migration and intermarriage connect tribes together, local practices start to emerge. The initiation rites of one group are adopted and developed by another. The teachings are shared, so that gradually larger groups evolve, and we have, by about 2000 BCE, the development of the great mystery schools of Egypt, of Hellenic Greece, of Pagan Rome, and in the West, of Albion, Britain, the source of Druid mysteries. Julius Caesar, in writing of the Druids, says that they originated in Britain. It is believed that their rule of life was discovered in Britain and transferred thence to Gaul, and today those who would study the subject more accurately journey as a rule to Britain to learn it. Even in Ireland, where Druidry flourished, mainland Britain was seen as the source of the Druid mysteries. In the most famous epic in Irish mythology, the Táin Bo Cúailnge, the cattle raid of Cooley, Queen Maeve of Connaught is about to engage her armies in battle with King Conifer of Ulster. She consults a druid called Fidelma, who tells her that she has just returned from learning verse and vision in Albion. Maeve asks her if she possesses the light of foresight, in other words, whether she can tell into the future. And Fidelma confirms that she is indeed a seer, and foretells defeat for Queen Maeve. This is how the druid Fidelma is described. She had yellow hair, she wore a speckled cloak fastened about her with a gold pin, a red embroidered hooded tunic, and sandals with gold clasps. Her brow was broad, her jaw narrow, and her 2 eyebrows pitch black, with delicate dark lashes casting shadows halfway down her cheeks. You would think her lips were set with Parthian scarlet. Her teeth were like an array of jewels between the lips. She had hair in 3 tresses, 2 wound upward on her head, and the 3rd hanging down her back, brushing her calves. She held a light gold weaving rod in her hand, with gold inlay. Her eyes had triple irises. 2 black horses drew her chariot, and she was armed. Druidry had evolved over tens of thousands of years out of the local religious practices of pre-Celtic and later fully Celtic tribes of Western Europe. And although Druids might have originally been simply local shaman, wizards, medicine women and men, by the time of Fidelma they had organised themselves into a mystery school with 3 divisions, a tradition of learning divided into 3 streams of the bards, the ovates and the druids. And Fidelma had gone to Britain to learn verse and vision, the work of the bards and the ovates respectively. 3 things that enrich the bard: myths, poetic power and a store of ancient verse. Welsh Triad. Fidelma would have learnt from the bards how to use the magic of sound, in words, in song, in music. Bards in their training learned the rules of composing poetry, but also the genealogies of the tribes and the old stories. They learned how to weave a spell of words around their listeners, enchanting them with tales of supernatural beings, of historical and mythical events that emerged together to create stories of love and conflict, of heroism and the search for wisdom. There were different kinds of bards, from simple entertainers who for a few pence would compose a song for your newborn child, or who would play music one evening at your house for the price of a meal, to the doctor of poetry who would accompany king or queen, composing praises and satires and teaching trainee bards. In Ireland, the training lasted 12 years, with students passing through 8 grades: principal beginner, poet's attendant, apprentice satirist, pillar, noble stream, man or woman of learning, poet, and then finally doctor of poetry. If you had stayed the course through these 12 years and 8 grades of study, you could tell 350 stories by heart, as well as knowing hundreds of poems and all the rules of grammar and poetic composition. But as well as bards specialising in poetry, there were others who were musicians, composing music and song. Here, a bard of the 14th century sings the praises of harp music. You who lure the bird from the flock, you who refresh the mind, brown-spotted one of sweet words, ardent, wondrous, passionate, you who steal every wounded warrior, joy and allurement to women, familiar guide over the dark blue water, mystic, sweet-sounding music. I have not heard of music ever such as your frame makes, since the time of the fairy people. Fair brown, many-coloured bough, gentle, powerful, glorious, cry of the fairy woman from the fairy hill of Lair. No melody can match you. Every house is sweet-stringed through your guidance, you the pinnacle of harp music. The bard had to know the old songs and stories and the formal rules of composition, but he or she also had to learn how to find inspiration, how to travel beyond time and space, to be gifted by the goddess, known as Brígid in Ireland and Scotland, Cerritwen in Wales. To do this, they were taught how to use sensory deprivation. They lay in dark rooms with no sound or light reaching them, sometimes with a stone on their chests to focus the mind. Then, if they were lucky, inspiration would descend, and they would later be able to proclaim their songs or verse in the way described by that great visionary poet and self-proclaimed druid William Blake in Songs of Experience. O hear the voice of the bard, who present, past and future sees, whose ears have heard the holy word that walked among the ancient trees. The Irish Druids termed the inspiration they received imbas. The Welsh Druids called it Awen, which meant flowing spirit or blessings of the gods. Gerald of Wales, writing in the 12th century, said of those who received the Awen, when you consult them about some problem, they immediately go into a trance and lose control of their senses. They do not answer the question put to them in a logical way. Words stream from their mouth, incoherently and apparently meaningless, and lacking any sense at all, but all the same well expressed, and if you listen carefully to what they say, you will receive the solution to your problem. When it is all over, they will recover from their trance, as if they were ordinary people waking from a heavy sleep. But you have to give them a good shake before they regain control of themselves, and when they do return to their senses, they can remember nothing of that which they have said in the interval. They seem to receive this gift of divination through visions, which they see in their dreams. Some of them have the impression that honey or sugary milk is being smeared on their mouths. Others say that a sheet of paper with words written on it is pressed against their lips. As soon as they are roused from their trance and have come round from their prophesying, that is what they say has happened. Giraldus Cambrensis, Description of Wales. Clearly, part of the bard's work was shamanic, a practice found in many parts of the world, but that involves using techniques to journey into the other world, to gain inspiration and information, bringing it back to this world to help in the healing and guiding of others. The Bardic Schools. Up until the 6th century, the Druids were in charge of the schools which trained the bards. These schools were of 2 kinds. Colleges which grew up at fixed locations, such as the community of Druids at Kildare in Ireland, and schools which were centred around one particularly gifted Druid, which moved from place to place, with students following him or her wherever they went. With the coming of Christianity, these bardic schools became overtly Christian. But in Ireland they remained separate from ecclesiastical colleges. Instead, they became lay schools, which meant that education in Ireland, unlike in England and most of Europe, ran in two parallel streams. Following the vision of the chief bard of Ireland, Donlan Fergoil, laws were passed for the regulation at a convention in County Derry in AD 574. And those schools without a fixed location were given permanent sites financed by the local clans. From these lay schools, poets, historians, judges and doctors graduated. Here was an extraordinary situation. The Druidic schools had transformed themselves into lay schools that operated alongside those of the church. Scholars believe that this enabled them to embody much that was purely Druidic in their curricula, and helps to explain why today in Ireland the holy wells and mountains and festival times still receive such attention from a population that is to all outward appearances Christian. From 1600, government policy turned against the schools in both Scotland and Ireland as part of the attempt at a construction of a new British identity based on the English language and culture. But they were not all closed until the end of the century, which means that the bardic schools had flourished under Christian dispensation for over 1,000 years. The monastic schools had already been suppressed over 100 years before the suppression of the lay bardic schools, and many had travelled to the continent for their education, filling the Irish colleges, which had been established in Paris, Louvain, Rome and elsewhere. As the 17th century gave way to the 18th century, with both school systems suppressed, a new phenomenon arose, the hedge school. Irish teachers taught in secret, out of doors, tucked behind a hedge, with a child appointed as lookout for English soldiers. An artist, George Holmes, as he travelled in Ireland, noted, "Among the uncultivated part of the country, many may be met with who are all good Latin scholars, yet do not speak a word of English. Greek is also taught in the mountainous parts by such itinerant teachers." In Wales and Scotland, the bardic schools also survived until the 17th century, when they were suppressed by the English, anxious to control the education of their people. Today it has again become possible to train as a bard, though the training is, of course, very different. Nowadays, it is not so important for us to learn the genealogies or the old methods of metre and rhyme. Instead, we need to connect to the same intent, the same purpose and essence, as did the bards of old, whose goal was to be filled with divine inspiration, to fully express their innate creativity, to bring joy and magic to those around them, and to grow in wisdom.
Silver moonlight dances from the mists of Teggett shore. A lady looks upon her son like many times before, and she touches his face, fingers wet with the tears falling. Her daughter stands beside her, the fairest in the land. How her son became so cursed she cannot understand. But this mother's love is as strong as her heart is beating. and she calls to the earth, and the earth hears her calling. High up in the mountains,
17th of June.
around stands tall. All magic and all mysteries are held within these walls. So she walks to the door. As she does, the door it opens. Teach to me the mystery of the cauldron's brew. Let utter darkness give way to light and be reborn anew. Then the Arwen will shine from the brow of the eagle of the sea, and all will know his name from this land to the people of the sheep. The lady set the cauldron's fire, tended by the hand of Gwion Bark the innocent, and Morda the blind man, who reached out his hand. Place more wood, keep the cauldron boiling. Then Morda he fell asleep, alas he didn't see. Wood upon wood was added, the inferno was the key to unlock the door of the Arwen's greatest mystery. 3 drops burning skin, and it's Gwion who gained the power to see. The cauldron cracks, the poison creeps slowly across the land, to kill the horses of Garanir at the lake shore where they stand, drinking and not knowing their fate, as a hare runs fast across the land. Ceridwen, Ceridwen, lady of the cauldron, come see what they have done. Stolen your cauldron's power and betrayed your only son. Your eyes wide, lips curl, anger on your face. Change your shape now, lady. Be the hound. Begin the chase. Begin the chase. Begin the chase. I shall be a running hare with sorrow and with mickle care.
Then I shall be a greyhound bitch and tear you from your skin.
Then I shall be a flying wren, the king of birds, the king of men.
So I shall be a falcon grey and tear you from your skin.
Then I shall be a salmon sleek, darting through a shallow creek.
So I shall be an otter bitch and wrest you from your skin.
I shall be a grain beneath the sun, and you will never know which one.
Then I shall be a great black hen and take you deep within.
later she gave birth to a son that she wanted to kill, but she placed in a coracle on the sea. Garanir salmon weir, a catch was guaranteed, but on this day a baby boy cried out to be freed. A radiant brow, shining bright for all to plainly see. Taliesin is your name, the greatest bard that this land will ever see.
And welcome. Thank you again for listening to that. That was a couple of speakers from Obod there, the Chief Druid, the ex-Chief Druid, along with another speaker. Now, on to the sermon now. This is the Druidism part of the sermon, the spiritual part of the sermon, and also the political part of the sermon. We'll also bring in myths into this lore, but not tonight, not in today's show, not in today's sermon. In future sermons we'll be talking about myths, and we'll be deconstructing those myths to get at the lore and the information contained within the myths. Because all myths have an element of truth or an element of knowledge contained within them, the knowledge of the old ways. And that's the old Celtic myths we'll be teaching you throughout the next several years. And I hope you tune into this sermon weekly. Every Sunday we'll be uploading this to YouTube. We'll be doing it live soon. I hope to be doing it live within the next several months. Maybe next month we'll start the live broadcast. Maybe sooner, I don't know. See how it goes on, see how this works out. Anyway, I don't think I can do live to Rumble, but we can do live to YouTube. So we'll be doing YouTube as well as uploading to Rumble. That's the two social media sites we use. Now, on the political side of the spectrum, I'm a British Druid, a Scottish Druid, and my politics is of the British kind, trying to change the British mindset from mindless, moronic slaves into utopian citizens. We can create utopia on Earth. We have the technological means to create technology-based utopia, where technology is used to enhance our lifestyles, enhance our work lifestyles, to make life easier for us, to make the work hours lesser so we can spend more time with our family and in our communities. That is beneficial to us all, and it is well possible. Now, on tonight's show, I'll be talking about the politics of the Conservative Party. The Conservative Party are an anema to the Mother Goddess. The path they are taking this nation down is the path to destruction, the path to oblivion, where they damn our souls and our lives. They're not listening to the spiritual elders of our day, the Christian elders, the Muslim elders, the Buddhist elders, or in Britain what they should be listening to, the Druid elders. They're not listening to the spiritual word of the gods. So they're going down an evil path. And we can all see that evil path. We know what path they're taking us down, because we are living through that path. We are feeling the strain of it, the poverty, the bills rising, the wages not rising, the unemployment benefits at destitution levels, disability at destitution levels. What are we doing to our people? when we reward the bankers, the thieves and charlatans that are raping and pillaging our country. It's not on, and we can't do it any longer. We must take our people, our path, down a path of utopian oblivion for the other side and the corrupt ways. We need a new form of government, a lottery-based form of government that we'll be talking to you about in future episodes, in future sermons. Now, we'll also be talking about myths, and since I'm a seer, I'll be including seer visions. When I'm doing this live, if it has to be at night time, if it's at night time, but the sermon's going out at 12, so I don't think I'll be able to do a live seer vision. I'd record them all. I need to be in the complete dark to get a seer vision. I stare at a candle since it's the biggest flame I can get legally in this house anyway, without being an arsonist, which I'm not. I can get a good flame at a candle, which enables me to spark my pineal gland, my eyes and then my pineal gland, which then enables me to close my eyes and see from the gods and goddesses via my 3 spirit guides. Now, we all have spirit guides, all of us. We all have a team of spirit guides watching over us and writing down our lore for the immortal judges. When we die and pass over, our life story will be judged, and it's our spirit guides that will testify on or against us. They will testify on our behalf or testify against us, and the immortal judge will decide whether we transcend into heaven to live with the gods and goddesses in the eye she, or whether we get reborn as a human being or cast down to the underworld and then the animal kingdom. Never forget, rebirth is real. We all get reborn. I've been reborn 1,001 times, and I have had it with the mortal realm. So I'm doing my best to transcend. I'm a vegetarian, and I will suffer as all vegetarians suffer in this planet. We're a planet designed for meat eaters. It's not on. I have no right to take the life of an animal that is not a threat to my life, to sustain my life. I have no right to do that. And Mother sees it that way, the Mother Goddess. So we must abide by her laws, because we are her children. Now, I'll play a seer version. But if you're a shaman, or if you've taken ayahuasca, then you know exactly what a seer sees. It's from the same gland. In my childhood, I suffered from severe migraines, really bad migraines, that had me in bed spewing and being sick. It was horrible, painful and horrible, but they would go away after a couple of days. But I would keep coming back. They stopped when I reached maturity, when I reached puberty. That overactive pineal gland, one of the symptoms of that is a migraine, severe migraines, a series of migraines. And that's what I experienced in my childhood. I've been a seer my whole life, but the gift didn't manifest until my 50s. I've been clairvoyant of a sort, and I've always noticed things of a spiritual nature and other weird events happening throughout my life, and some visions I've had early on in my childhood that I still remember. Now, on this show, on this sermon, sorry for saying show, I'm used to doing a different broadcast, but this is a new broadcast for us. We'll still be doing the other one. The other one is Beyond the Nets, that's more political and about waking up to a revolution. That's more a revolutionary broadcast I do. That's other podcast I do. On this show, it's more about spiritual warriors, about fighting the spiritual war, the political war. This is all politics and spiritualism from the Sermon of the Temple. And now I'll play a Druid sermon now, a seer vision for you, if I can locate one. And here's one here. I think this will work. This is from the 1st of the 17th of the 6th, 2021. I'll play it now. The 17th of June 2001 at 12:38 AM. Shamanic journey number 1. I'm going to go in now. See an aura, front of her face. It's a nice she, spirit from the other world. You can see another aura appearing with 2 eyes in it, it blinked. It's a spirit, a nice she spirit. It's looking to my right. It's blinking, sending an aura to the right. It's fading now. You see a tunnel start to form. It's leading to the left. That means action. Action is required at the left. You come out the tunnel. It was a short journey. I don't know where I'm at. Upper or lower. I think this is still the middle world. I need to charge the pineal gland. I'm not seeing anything now. Where's the light? Shape of a person. Wee tiny person, wee tiny blue light. I'm in a faint tunnel, it's very faint. It's moving along the tunnel, at the bottom of the tunnel. I'm coming out of the tunnel now to the left. The tunnel's leading on, the tunnel's going on, I'm coming out the tunnel, I'm out the tunnel. You see orders. There's a bright aura at a right angle, not a right angle, a 45-degree angle. It's turning left and right. Now it's orders again, and flying along the orders. As if I'm underwater now, I'm coming up, I'm coming up. I'm hovering at the edge of the water. Like waves cascading. Forming a pyramid, a triangle. Forming a pyramid shape. Another corridor, another tunnel. Pyramid tunnel this time. Never seen a pyramid tunnel before, I think that's the upper world I'm in. I have seen a pyramid tunnel before. But only once. Not seeing anything now. I think I'll come out and go back in. See a nice she spirit, he's looking to the left, and there's another spirit appearing looking to the left. One to the right, one to the left, and one looking right at me. That's 3 eye she spirits and straight after one another. Now I'm seeing 2 lights. Forming a wee humanoid shape, it's very small, it's tiny. It's a person. I don't know what it's meant to represent. It looks like an instrument to me, or an arm. Like a saxophone or an arm. Can you see it? If I see anything now, I might go out and come back in, charge the pineal gland. Staring into candles to charge the gland, which helps in the shamanic seer vision. Come out and go back in. See auras, can see 2 circles, 2 holes, 2 auras with holes in the middle. There's a bright light in the middle of them. I don't know what this is meant to represent. I think it's depopulating an implant. We're all going in holes. The gods have been blowing whistles, and this was me previously. My spirit guide, both my spirit guides, and the team of workers that work with priestesses that work with them. See nothing now. I can go out and come back in. It's short visions I'm getting this time, very short visions. See another face, looking to my right. It's like a frog. It's lying down now, it's falling on its head. Disappearing. It's just saying the human race is going to fall down dead. And see a creature. I think it was an animal, like a tiger. Is that a tiger? I think that's a tiger. Need to look up tigers in the spirit guides, see what it represents. I forgot. Need to check my notes. See what the tiger represents in the spirit guide. There's a message. Very short visions, these ones are too short. Shorter than normal. I don't know if recording these visions is annoying my spirit guide. No, it's not. It's just seen a vision there. I think it's the situation we're all in. I'll come out and go back in. See 2 circles forming that same icy spirit again. It's looking directly at me now. Now it's looking to my left, looking at me again. The people to my left are obsessed with me, I think. I think that's what it's saying. I think this is a personal journey. Personal message here, I think. Let's see if we can get a world message. I'll stay in this time. Stay in a wee bit longer. See, oh, there's something. See a light, a very small light. Oh, there's a tiger. No, a jaguar. See a jaguar. I've got a jaguar, man. Once again, my memory's gone. See a bright aura, it's a bit faint, not too bright.
turned into an angular face. I think that's the Lord of the Underworld emblem, shamanic symbol. Some people may be going to the underworld once they pass over. We all must stay on the right path. Middle way Druidry, the path to enlightenment, true enlightenment. It's never hurt anyone, never caused suffering. I'm not seeing anything now. I think I come out and go back in. See the same icy spirit again, you're looking to the right now, right to the right at a 45-degree angle, got a side on profile, turn to the right, see a face, and an aura, bright aura, it's all grayscale, clouds. Fade now. I need an ayahuasca journey coming up. Feed the pineal gland. Maybe some psilocybin. Get the visions more clear. Of shamanic medicine, my shamanic food. Can't see anything. I end this vision. Can't see nothing. I'll come out for a wee while, take a wee breather. Right, I'll come out.
And that was a seer vision from 2 years ago. Now we've come to the end of the sermon. Usually at the end of a seer vision I will talk about it. I will explain the vision in more details. I will do that in future sermons, but I haven't got time tonight. This is the first episode I'm uploading of the seer vision from the temple, of the Druid sermon from the temple. And I hope you enjoyed it today. I hope you tune in for future episodes. Every Sunday we'll be on. I'll be uploading it later on Sunday after the sermon, on a Sunday afternoon. So a Sunday afternoon the sermon's on around about 12, between 12 and 2. We'll be doing live at some point, but I don't know when. Maybe soon, maybe a couple of weeks, 3-4 weeks. Anyway, back to us. That's the end of the sermon. On future sermons, we will have spiritualism, politics, guest speakers, all about paganism, about becoming the old ways, becoming part of the old ways, and living the old ways, so we can create a utopia for our children. Thank you. Now we'll play out with some music. Here's Sons and Daughters of Robin Hood, one for the people of Albion.
We all watched you on our TV. Right honourable gentlemen, apparently. Different voices with only one aim: to win my vote and to win the game. Now some have died to pave the way, so we can vote come polling day. X marks the spot that gives us our voice. But how do we vote when there isn't a choice? If you thought that we would do nothing, you've misunderstood. For we are the sons and daughters of Robin Hood. This time around the stone, and the poll tax riots of Trafalgar Square. The rich they got richer, the poor were stripped bare. Building new roads with no thought for the land, and the blood of the bean field is still on your hands. Now drilling off Shetland will do you just fine, and you wanted to sell off our forests like you closed down mines. If you thought that we would do nothing, you've misunderstood. We are the sons and daughters of Robin Hood. There's nothing to see, there's nothing to see, there's nothing to see here. There's nothing to see, won't you just look away? There's nothing to see here. Oh, England's green and pleasant land is not there to put cash in your hands. I see your symbol is the English oak tree. Is that your idea of irony? Now millions of eyes have turned upon you, and each one is watching what you will do. And all are ready to spoil your game, for the blood of an outlaw, it flows in our veins. If you thought that we would do nothing, you've misunderstood. For we are the sons and daughters of Robin